treatment to them. They had no drug or they had no surgery.
So that doesn't mean I can't report a cure. They can't report a cure because they're applying a drug or a surgical procedure, but they can't cure the problem of spasmodic dysphonia. I can report documented cures. For 35 years, I've had peer review, which means that I'm holy in that sense. The other thing is, it's fascinating. They're trying to upend cures because it's all natural. And Allergan, the maker of Botox, they got into the field to produce Botox for this condition. They're well-intentioned.
Well, Botox itself is as you know, and I pointed this out in the last hour, was purchased through the U.S. Army weapons-grade botulinum toxin in 1987. Mm-hmm. The chemical weapons ban went into effect, wherein it was no longer legal to produce chemical weapons by the United States, or they would be out of compliance with the chemical weapons ban. So they sold it to a drug maker, Allergan. They were not manufacturing it at the time. And incidentally, these germs that are manufactured today, they can wind up in the normal population. There was a case just recently of tuberculosis, first case in the United States in quite a while. And the fellow that contracted it, I don't know if you know about this story at all, he was on the verge of going on his honeymoon and decided that despite meeting with the medical personnel in Fulton County, which is outside of Atlanta, and diagnosed with a drug-resistant form of tuberculosis, and they advised him strongly not to travel. He eluded them, did not go to an appointment, and actually took off on an airplane with his fiancée, and they traveled to Europe. And he was tracked down by an agent of the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, Center for Disease Control, who told him that he needed to be quarantined. And the guy left. The night after that, he escaped to Eastern Europe. He actually flew to Prague, Czechoslovakia, and then caught a flight to Canada, and then entered by a rental car, through a port. And the guy that was at the border said, "Well, I know who you are. I've got a case file open on you. You've got tuberculosis." And the guy looked the other way. He says, "Go ahead and pass," because the border patrol agent did not want to get close to the guy, because they didn't want to take him into custody and risk getting tuberculosis. So the interesting thing about this is the father-in-law, this is one incidental finding that no one wanted to attend to, works for the Center for Disease Control in the area of tuberculosis management.
Gets interesting.
Well, and he denied that he contracted the tuberculosis through his father. But the truth is, when you have live germs, whether it's anthrax or botulinum toxin is actually a poison and not a bacteria. Well, it is a bacterium. It's actually botulinum, which is a deadly bacteria. You can get sick from this stuff if you're exposed to it. So there is a risk that's involved in these kind of biological agents. Now, your field, this is considered the cat's meow, according to the ex-president.
A godsend if you take Botox for strangled horses.
Yes.
That the NSDA McAllister gave that quote to USA Today.
He did.
The Botox is a godsend and the cat's meow.
And when he talked to me, he told me that they take no position, because they're not physicians, about the use of any one treatment for spasmodic dysphonia.
That's on their masthead. They're not supposed to, right? They are a 501c, but they do. Obviously, from what we're hearing, they are taking a position.
Well, does that bother you at all that a 501c3 nonprofit organization is being used by a publicly traded company in order to advance the treatment of the use of botulinum toxin in treating spasmodic dysphonia?
Dr. Curtis, if I were bothered by what goes on in society, there are 30,000 nonprofits funded, I understand, by for-profit companies. If I were bothered by all of that, I'd be put away because I couldn't function. I find it humorous that the information we get is not all that objective. The companies, Allergan, through their generously funded National Spasmodic Dysphonic Association, are well-intentioned, are humane, and they're trying to help the public. But they have a position to take. And that's the whole society. It's a give and take. It's a right and a left. It's their position to argue. The public simply doesn't know that the position they're getting, the information may not be all there.
But
so I find it as entertaining, sorrowfully, that the public, the people with spasmodic dysphonia, don't realize it. I was on the Fox network, and right behind me, Roger Ailes got me on. He says he's a fan of mine, and he knows of my many successes. He's on the cover of
He's the president of Fox News, by the way.
Right. He's on the cover of my book, Curing Hopeless Voices, Spasmodic Dysphonia. Right behind me, on national television, I'm talking with this young lady who had a Botox shot and telling what happened, and she'll never have it again, and so forth. And I got her voice back. She was fine.
That was Fran, wasn't it?
Yeah. And right behind me on the screen is that spasmodic dysphonia is neurological. I pointed out to Roger Ailes later on, how can I cure a neurological problem? Here's a young lady talking about the cure from spasmodic dysphonia.
Well, and your
approach
is exactly the opposite, and yet Fox News put on there, they were obviously told to put on...
No, they weren't told. They had their checkers check, and everywhere spasmodic dysphonia is said to be neurological.
It doesn't say that on your website.
No, I'm different. I'm the only website in the world that says this condition is not neurological, it's not a dystonia, it's curable. But if you check it out, the National Spasmodic Dysphonic Association, through their PR, I understand, Bernadine, what's her name, Healy, she writes for Newsweek or Time, she does a column. She's an MD. She says they have 13,000 articles on Botox out there. I can't get arrested with my material of curing spasmodic dysphonia. So is it 13,000 against one article I can get out there now and then?
So then numbers do make a difference, and
of course
the preponderance of information is leaning in the direction of people believing the medics.
Yeah, they control the whole field, and as I say, they're well-intentioned, they're selling product. Everybody sells product in one way or another. I sell product, I'm selling cures. I'm selling recoveries, and I'm selling voice improvements.
Well, you're actually helping people to develop a better voice.
But that's what Allergan, the maker of Botox, is saying. They're helping them to get through life. But it's a roller coaster ride. Herb Dito, a famed ear, nose, and throat doctor up in San Francisco, says it's a roller coaster ride. Mitchell Bryn, who brought Botox to the field in 1984, 1991, at a National Spasmodic Dysphonic sponsored meeting by Allergan, the maker of Botox. Bryn said at 3 o'clock in this meeting, before hundreds, that he wanted to withdraw what he brought to the field in 1984, Botox, at the earliest possible time, fearing the long-term downside effects on the body. He says it's dated now. He's on the Allergan payroll as I think it's a vice president of development. He's entitled to be and do what he wants. He said one thing one time. He says something.
Well, do you find it odd that when Bryn is quoted in the New York Times, that the New York Times writer who's
Donald G. McNeil Jr. March 2nd, 2003.
But I mean, he's been referenced by other people too. But the point I'm making is that they do not identify Dr. Mitchell F. Bryn, M.D., as a vice president of product development for Allergan. They're simply touting Botox, the drug that he's actually promoting and paid to do through his vice president position with Allergan. But he identifies himself as a medical researcher or a clinician.
So?
But why wouldn't he identify himself as somebody who's on the payroll of Allergan?
Why didn't you ask Dr. Bryn?
I've tried to ask other people why on Dr. Bryn's website, his personal website, he does not list himself as being an employee of Allergan Inc., the maker of Botox.
Why did you put an email to him and ask him why?
Well, I think we know why. And with respect to to Donald G. McNeil Jr., I've asked him, and we've asked him, who told him, in his quote, that Botox is giving patients with spastic vocal cords back their voices. Who told him that? That's a quote.
March 2nd, 2003, front page New York Times. New York Times.
He would not.
All the news fit to print.
Yes. And he...
Expect the world.
As a writer who doesn't know, really has no knowledge of your field.
No.
How would he come up with a statement that Botox is giving patients with spastic vocal cords back their voices?
We can't extrapolate that somebody gave him the quote. Who gave him the quote?
Well, it appears that the vice president of product development, who resides in his backyard in Manhattan, that it's possible. It's certainly not without the realm of possibility that it could have been attributed to Dr. Brin or somebody connected with Brin.
Yes.
So
or connected
we don't
with
know
Allergan.
No, yes, we don't know that. But we do know that Donald G. McNeil Jr., the writer for the New York Times, did not have a clue about what Botox does for spastic vocal cords.
Well, I got in touch with him. I asked him who made the statement. He didn't give me that.
But he gave you a reference to an article.
Yes, to a medical article in 2002. I checked it out, and it's in my book, Curing Hopeless Voice Problems.
Did you see the quote from that article?
Yeah, I put it in the book.
No, I mean, was McNeil's quote that Botox is giving patients with spastic vocal cords back their voices, was that quote in the article that he gave you?
No, not at all. It had nothing to do with it.
So then why did he give you that article?
Because he doesn't understand what the relationship is. It had nothing to do with that quote on the front page of March 2nd.
But that's what you asked him for.
That's
Where's
right.
his reference on that quote?
He doesn't have one.
He does have one. He just didn't give it to you, right? He had to have one.
I don't know where he got that information from, but I could tell you it's irrelevant. And I told him that.
Well, it is. What's relevant is that the promotion, the marketing, and the sales of Allergan Inc., it's Botox, that's a drug made by that company, is not something that's supposed to be sold by the New York Times through articles that they write. They're supposed to be an objective newspaper doing an investigative piece of reporting.
I don't find them that objective. Not at all. In 1992, I think it's April 11th, Janie Brody, the
she's very well respected,
doyen of the health field, wrote that she used Brin, Mitchell F. Brin.
I told you he's quoted by other people.
Yeah, as the source for the article that she wrote on that time in the Science Times, and it said that they're referring to the NSDA, which is funded by the Allergan Company for treatment of spasmodic dysphonia. And she wrote in there, quoting somebody, I think it's Brin, that or somebody else, that SD is not caused by voice misuse and so forth. That's poppycock. It's caused by voice misuse. But I'm stepping on the toes of those in the Allergan Company and the medical field. I'm sorry I'm doing that. I'm sorry I'm reporting cures, but that's what I'm finding clinically. I like the patients with SD, spasmodic dysphonia, to know they have a choice, but they're not told that. And if they're finding out about a choice, direct voice rehab, it's being demonized and marginalized by the medical community and by Allergan. I think they're well-intentioned in what they're doing. I think they really believe that what I'm doing is not appropriate, that there cannot be cures, because Allergan guarantees there are no cures. The academic world, all academia, including the American Speech Hearing Language Association, says there are no cures. They guarantee it on their website. And the medical field guarantees it on all their websites across the world, I understand. So I'm the only doctor, one lone doctor reporting cures of this, all naturally, and I'm stepping on toes. We have 1 minute, Dr. Curtis, to wrap it up.
Well, you got a big field here, and a big problem, because it's a huge mess. You've got a big mess to clean up, and the mess is, how do you get the word out that there are options to Botox?
I don't.
And that, you have a non-toxic treatment that is, that can't hurt a patient. It can only help them.
And I have cures. But that's not going to wash, because the medical community is opposed to it. They were opposed to Semmelweis in 1845, indicating wash your hands and you can stop the large number of fatalities of child delivery and women dying from childbirth. But it took 60 to 80 years before the medical community changed its mind. I'm Mort Cooper. This is Dr. John Curtis. Thank you for joining with me. Hope you got some enlightenment, and you decide. Thank you for joining us again. Bye-bye.